Can you tell me your name and your position?
My name is Dennis Parker. Right now I work as a private consultant working with low performance schools in California. Done that for about 12 years, kindergarten through 12th grade.
So tell me, what do you do?
Well, I work with principals and teachers. I try to get them to try certain strategies in their school that will help kids make a year and a half or 2 years growth in 1 year. That's our goal. Some of it has to do with doing things that will help motivate kids to work harder, help make them feel more powerful, but also help them learn more material, learn more content, and make it easier for them to do that. So I do a lot of teacher training, I do demonstration lessons. We look at a lot of data to see where we are and where we need to go.
And what do you think the significance of what you do is?
Well, I think the significance is that in a lot of my schools now, we've been able to close the achievement gap based on the state test, close the achievement gap between Hispanics and African Americans and white kids. That is, a lot of my schools are either very close to or have achieved the same level of performance for Hispanics and African American kids as white kids in California. So to do that on your watch, in your generation, they talk about closing the achievement gap, but it's always promising practices. But we reliably and predictably have been able to do that in a few schools, and in the next 2 years I expect another dozen schools that I work with to actually achieve closing the achievement gap. This sends kids on to the next grade level, actually working not at a disadvantage, but working competitively with any majority white student on average in California. And that's a pretty rare thing for Hispanic and African American kids to be able to do.
It is. And it's really good that you're working on it, that you're pushing that in.
Pushing it very explicitly, right? And because it's a worthwhile goal. It's more worthwhile than getting your API to go up. It's more worthwhile than getting out of program improvement. I mean, it's a higher order goal. It's to actually help kids be competitive. So we want them to know more, get more right on the test, but also we want them to feel more powerful. So it doesn't count if they just know more, get more right on the test. They have to feel more powerful.
That confidence.
Yeah, confidence.
Well, I think what you do is very meaningful, and I'm glad that you're pushing for that and that you see that it's valuable and it's important and it's something that we should go for.
It is, and it does change lives. I mean, kids they're different when they feel powerful and when they get a high number. It counts for them.
So we're here in CABE. So tell me what it is that you're doing here today.
Well, I'm doing a talk on helping kids, giving teachers strategies to help kids access complex text. The big deal with the new Common Core standards is we're going to give kids increasingly complex text. But that's fine, but you have to have strategies to help them make sense of complex text. Because if they're reading below grade level now, it's not going to help them to give a harder text. So I did a session today on teaching strategies and approaches teachers can actually walk out of there and do tomorrow that would help their kids who are reading below grade level to actually not feel disadvantaged, but to get all the information they need out of a language arts or social studies or science or math textbook.
And to be successful on that exam.
And to be successful on the exam, right. Because we don't want kids feeling not powerful, overwhelmed by a piece of text, can't get through the chapter, can't do their homework. We don't want that. We want to give them a shot at it, but it will depend on will teachers use new strategies to do it. Because right now, kids are struggling, and if we just increase their struggle, it's not going to help them do better.
Yeah, so we need to develop a plan and
develop a plan with strategies.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So, what do you see the significance and the power of CABE?
The power of CABE is keeps this issue of bilingual education and equity for English learners and for immigrant students. It keeps it in the public mind because otherwise it would literally be swept under the carpet. Before we had CABE and before we had even any laws, students were just ignored. I mean, it was sink or swim, and when you can't measure them, when you can't count how many there are, or when you can't give them an identity and give the teachers an identity, give the program an identity, then it just doesn't exist. So CABE's, I started coming to CABE in the late 70s. I mean, I've been around a long time with this. And so it's the premier organization. In fact, I think it's led the nation. I mean, we're even bigger than NABE, the National Association. Many years we've been bigger than NABE. So California has led the way, and it just makes it possible to fix a problem if you can identify the problem and identify a group of people working on the problem. And CABE does that for us all.
Definitely. So thank you for sharing that, and I'm so glad that you're working on all these great things to help students achieve their goals.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Nice to see you.